The Southern States. These states provide many of the United States' greatest railroading gems. In this video, we will be exploring Norfolk Southern's famous rat hole line from Cincinnati, Ohio to Chattanooga, Tennessee. We will be stopping in Lexington, Kentucky, Burnside, Kentucky, Harriman, Tennessee, and many other locations. Along with that, we also see R.J. Corman, the Big South Fork Scenic Railroad, the Spring City Depot, and the Delta Queen, when it was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We'll also go back in time to when steam was king and ran on this line. So now, let's get going and chase some trains down in the south. Cincinnati, Ohio, home to 297,517 people, this is the northern terminus for what many people call the Rat Hole Line. The Rat Hole Line runs from here to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and is made up of the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd districts. We then cross the Ohio River to follow the 1st district. But unfortunately, we didn't catch any trains from here to Lexington, Kentucky. So now, we'll go back in time to see Southern Railway steam in action. We first go to Crescent Springs, Kentucky, just southwest of Cincinnati, Ohio. We are at Beechwood Road crossing. Soon we hear the sound of a steam whistle in the distance, and we now set up for the first train. The first train we see is being led by Southern Railway 4750. Southern 4750 is a MS-1 282 Mikado, built in 1918 by Alco. 15 of these engines were built, ranging from 4750 to 4764. We will be following 4750 down the line. We then move to just south of Richwood, Kentucky, along Highway 25, also known as the Dixie Highway. After Ridgewood, we then go down to Williamstown, Kentucky, to see a meet. The Southern Railway was well known for its fleet of passenger trains that were operated on the lines. Many passenger trains ran on the Rat Hole line, such as the Carolina Special, the Queen/Crescent Limited, and many others. Here at Williamstown, our train will pull onto the siding to let the Carolina Special run by as it continues northward towards Cincinnati, Ohio. The Special is being led by Southern 1482, a 482 mountain type. Soon we hear the whistle of 4750 as it comes in. As soon as our train is in the siding, it doesn't have long to wait before the Special comes running on by. We then move more south of Williamstown, where we catch 4750 going under the Cherry Grove Road Bridge. After catching the train there, we then move on to another siding just south of the small town of Mason, Kentucky. After catching the train in Mason, we then caught the train again in Sadiesville, Kentucky, on College Street. After Sadieville, we then go to Georgetown, Kentucky. We are now located at East Main Street crossing. As we wait for 4070's train to come on through, in the distance we see a plume of smoke rising from a northbound train. This train is being led by Southern Railway 5200. Southern 5200 is a SS1 210-2 Santa Fe type built in 1918 by Alco. After 5200's train ran on by, we then caught 4750 here. We will now leave the age of steam to go back to present day. We now move from Georgetown, Kentucky to Lexington, Kentucky. Lexington, Kentucky is home to 723,849 people and is the second largest city in the state of Kentucky, just behind Louisville. It is also home to R.J. Corman's Central Kentucky lines. CKL operates over the former Louisville and Nashville main line from Winchester, Kentucky to Louisville, Kentucky, and is headquartered right here in Lexington, Kentucky. The reason why we are down here at the R.J. Corman yards was because of Old Smoky. Old Smoky is a QJ 210-2 Santa Fe type built in Dangzhong, China in 1985. Sorry if I pronounced that Chinese name wrong, that was the first time I've actually heard of the name. Old Smoky worked for the China Railways until it was sold to R.J. Corman and brought to Lexington, Kentucky on May 24, 2008. Old Smoky was supposed to be pulling the Lexington dinner train excursions, but due to financial difficulties and a lawsuit, the dinner train never happened. Although the train didn't happen, R.J. Corman still operated Old Smoky on the CKL. It all came to an end on July of 2013 when Old Smoky made its final run from Lexington, Kentucky to the Y at Baghdad, Kentucky. Old Smoky is still stored at the yard here, but we'll never know if she'll ever run again. I forgot to mention, the date is March 22nd, 2014. This means it had been 9 months since Old Smoky was put out of service. Oh well, if R.J. Corman decides to ever operate Old Smoky again, we'll be down here to try to catch it. After exploring the yard and not being able to find Old Smoky, we then went to go get lunch and get back on the road. We then arrive in the small town of Nicholasville, Kentucky. In the town of Nicholasville, there is a park called Ready Bee Park. Here in the park sits Reeder Railroad number 11. Number 11 is a 262 Prairie built in 1925 by the Baldwin Locomotive Works. After Number 11's job was done on the Reeder Railroad, Number 11 bounced around from owner to owner. Then in 1989, Number 11 began pulling excursions over TTI, Trans-Kentucky Transportation, from Paris to Carlisle, Kentucky, and sometimes to Maysville, Kentucky. Then in 1993, after CSX acquired TTI, number 11 sat on the sidings until it was donated to Nicholasville and put on display here. Nicholasville is also the headquarters to R.J. Corman. We then passed their HQ. After passing Danville, we then enter onto the 2nd District. The 2nd District runs from Danville, Kentucky to Oakdale, Tennessee. We then get to Somerset, Kentucky. We will be staying in Somerset, Kentucky for the night. After getting settled into our hotel, we then drove down to Burnside, Kentucky, just south of Somerset. Last time we were here, at the cliff overlook, we didn't catch any trains until nightfall. So we decided to go there straight away. As we were doing so, we came across the Copper Power Station spur line, a small branch line that serves its namesake power plant. On this spur, NS has put their work gang equipment on it. After that, we then parked at Rock Hill Drive, then proceeded into the woods to find our path blocked by 2 NS trains, one pulling into Burnside.
No, they didn't. The gang's just down there.
Soon, both trains left Burnside. We then proceeded to cross the tracks and continue through the woods until we came out at our cliff area. This area is still just as beautiful as the last time we were here. Then our first train came up, this time in the daylight. It was a northbound freight train. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the numbers off of the locomotives, but it's safe to say that the lead locomotive is a EMD SD60, and the second locomotive is some sort of a Dash 9 from GE. Since this train is taking its time to get across, let's talk about the history of the line. Although this line looks, feels, and seems like it's owned by Norfolk Southern, in reality, it isn't. The whole right-of-way from Cincinnati, Ohio to Chattanooga, Tennessee is owned by the city of Cincinnati, Ohio, and leased to Norfolk Southern. So how did the city of Cincinnati came to owning the whole entire line from Cincinnati to Chattanooga? Well, let's look into this, shall we? For this story, we go back to around the 1830s. At this time, Cincinnati's riverboat traffic was in a state of decline, and the city of Louisville had caught the railroading bug. Then, in the 1850s, when the Kentucky legislature chartered a line to link Louisville, Kentucky to Nashville, Tennessee, the leaders of Cincinnati decided to act. It was decided that they would like to build their own railroad line to connect their own city to Chattanooga, Tennessee. The work for the line began in 1873 and was finished by December 10, 1879. The city decided to call their new railroad line the Cincinnati Southern Railway, but the city had no interest in operating the line themselves. So it was decided in 1881 that the line would be leased to the Cincinnati, New Orleans, and Texas Pacific Railway. Later, the CNO&TP would be then taken over by Southern Railway, then later by Norfolk Southern. Today, the line is still leased by Norfolk Southern, and the lease will expire by 2026. I bet Norfolk Southern will renew the lease by then. In the last Rails to the South video, I made a mistake. In that video, I said Burnside is the interchange point for the 2nd and 3rd districts. But I was wrong. Although Burnside is an interchange point, the 2nd district runs from Danville, Kentucky to Oakdale, Tennessee, like I said earlier. Danville, Kentucky and Oakdale, Tennessee used to be the interchange points on the NS Central Division until 2011. By then, NS had decided to make Burnside the only interchange point on the Central Division, eliminating the Danville-Oakdale interchanges. While up on the cliffs, we walked around and scouted out the place, finding some new vantage points to catch trains from. Then, a southbound intermodal train came up. Since Burnside became the interchange point, trains can now start from Cincinnati, Louisville, Chattanooga, and even Knoxville, and only have to stop here. Although Danville is no longer an interchange point, it still serves as the swapping block for the Rat Hole lines and the Louisville district. Unfortunately for Oakdale, all the facilities there are now gone, but on the bright side, a local train operates out of there and goes as far north as Oneida, Tennessee. Although Danville and Oakdale are no longer interchanges, they still mark where the 2nd District starts and ends on the Central Division. After stopping at the depot for a crew change, our train got back underway. A little bit later, another southbound freight train came roaring on through. This train was being led by NS 7639, 8957, and 2576. NS 7639 is a GE ES40 DC built in 2007. NS 8957 is a GE C40-9W built in 1996. And NS 2576 is a EMD SD70 built in 1998 for Conrail. Soon the train came to a stop. After it did, a northbound grain train came through. This train was being led by NS 9428, 6768, 6676, 2545, and 8850.
No, he is tough.
NS 9428 is a GE C40-9W. NS 6768 is a EMD SD60M, built in 1993 as Conrail 5510. NS 6676 is a EMD SD60 built in 1990. NS 2545 is a EMD SD70 built in 1994. 8850 is a GE C40-9W built in 1995. Then, the northbound train came to a halt. You can see lots from here, such as the Copper Power Station, the Boat Marina, and the Dollar General in Burnside, Kentucky. Then, the southbound freight got back underway.
I don't know.
Make this minute count. Hello. You know what?
After moving to another location on the cliff,
You know what?
a southbound intermodal train pulled in. After the last car of the intermodal train came across, the northbound grain train got back underway.
I see it.
Final train goes in my camera.
After the grain train got back underway, we decided to call it a day and head back to our car. But as we were doing so, a northbound coal train came up. It was being led by NS 8095 and NS 6620. NS 8095 is a GE ES44AC built in 2012, and NS 6620 is a EMD SD60 built in 1986. Interestingly enough, this train was the only train we caught today to have rear-end pushers on the end. The pushers were NS 2696 and 8072. NS 2696 is a EMD SD70M-2 built in 2005, and NS 8072 is a GE ES44AC built in 2011. After the train left, we then got back to our hotel. We decided to get up bright and early in the morning. After eating our breakfast, we then checked out. Before we left Somerset, Kentucky, we decided to look for some trains. As we were looking around, we came across this bridge. Unfortunately, no trains were coming. We then proceeded to go to the yard in Burnside, Kentucky. The Burnside yard consists of a train station for the train crews and a holding yard just southeast of the station. The holding yard consists of just 4 tracks, making it a really small yard. It is so small that it doesn't even register as a yard. Also, out of the 4 tracks here, the 2 inside tracks are supposed to be the main lines, but as shown here, they could also act as sidings as well. In the holding yard is a northbound coal train led by NS 9718 and GE C40-9W, NS 7635, 7653, and 7671, all GE ES40 DCs, all built in 2007. The holding yard goes into a man-made cliff area, also known as a cut, which makes it a great place to see trains pulling in and out of the station.
I like it.
As we explored the cliffs, a southbound freight train left the station, being led by NS 6911, 8356, 7589, and 9813. NS 6911 is a rebuilt EMD ST60E, built in 1985 at 66,000. NS 8356 is a GE C40-8W, built in 1991 as Conrail 6120. NS 7589 is a GE ES40DC, built in 2006, and NS 9813 is a GE C40-9W, built in 2004. Back to the rail line, there are many cuts along this line. As we discussed in Volume 1, this cut was part of the 1950s line relocation for the Lake Cumberland project. But if you look at a map prior to the 1960s of this line, the line would have looked like this. The black lines representing the 1870s railroad line, and the red lines representing the relocations made afterward. Soon the end of the train came around the corner. We will be following this train for now. We moved to Parker's Lake at a railroad crossing on Joe Neal Road, just off of Highway 27. Getting back to the rail line, the original 1870s line used 27 tunnels between Wilmore, Kentucky and Emery Gap, Tennessee, the longest being the Kings Mountain Tunnel with a length of 3,984 feet. The tunnels had extremely tight clearances, tight curves, and steep grades. The tunnels were built through many things, such as rock, clay, shell, and sand, and often had water seeping in. As trains got larger, the tunnels became literal hell for the crews. The exhaust from the steam locomotives made it extremely hard to breathe in the tunnels, and the temperatures in the cab could reach up to 160 degrees Fahrenheit. To avoid suffocation, gas masks became the standard on the line. Thanks to all this, the line gained a notable reputation and the nickname the Rat Hole Division. Ever since the 1900s, there had been many projects to get rid of many of the tunnels along the line. The first one being in 1901, when the shortest tunnel, number 6, was daylighted near Solons Valley, Kentucky. Daylighting means to turn a tunnel into a cliff area surrounding the line. Soon we left Parker's Lake to continue south. Although this is mountain territory, there are some places where the railroad and Highway 27 follow each other. There are other roads that follow the line as well, but not very busy roads though. Arrived in Stearns, Kentucky. Stearns, Kentucky is home to the Big South Fork Scenic Railroad. As we stood at the platform of the Stearns station, I thought I heard a steam whistle in the distance. Listen, you might just hear it.
Johnny.
I ain't recording that. Alright.
Although there is a steam locomotive here on the line, and some of the diesels have their own steam whistles, the steam locomotive, Moorhead and Norfolk number 77, also known as Union number 14, is currently under restoration, and it doesn't look like that there's any excursion trains being pulled by any diesels today either. As we explored the place, Big South Fork Scenic Railroad number 106 came by, pushing a cut of cars into the nearby yard. The railroad owns 7 diesels, 5 being S2s, 1 being an SW9 number 106, and 1 SW 12,000 RS. We then proceeded down the platform, looking at all the coach cars beside the platform. Stearns train station is a good place to watch trains of Norfolk Southern and the Big South Fork Scenic Railroad in action. Soon it was time for us to get back on the road and leave Stearns, Kentucky. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find where these next two shots were taken. We first see a train led by CP 8553 and GE AC44CW, built in 1998, and NS 9399, a GE C40-9W. We next see what I think is a southbound freight train led by NS 9831, 7553, and 2725. NS 9831 is a GE C40-9W built in 2004. NS 7553 is a GE ES40DC built in 2005, and NS 2725 is a EMD SD70M-2 built in 2006. As I was saying earlier, there are many projects to get rid of all the tunnels along the line. The biggest of these projects was of the 1963 line relocation made by Southern Railway. Before the 60s came along, this line was one of Southern Railway's most profitable lines, but when the trailer on flat car and high-queued box cars came along, they couldn't fit in the tunnels. So Southern Railway's president, D.W. Brosnan, talked to city officials of Cincinnati about rebuilding the line to fit these new cars. Cincinnati officials agreed to the plan and gave nearly $35 million in bonds to Southern Railway to pay for the construction. After the train ran by, we then moved down to New River, Tennessee, no relation to the New River in West Virginia. The New River is home to the NS New River Bridge. This bridge is the tallest bridge in the state of Tennessee, at a height of 389 feet above the New River. The bridge is 1,068 feet from end to end and is only 10 feet wide. While here, we caught a northbound grain train crossing the bridge. It was being led by a BNSF locomotive at the head and two NS locomotives. The bridge was built in 1963 as part of the 1963 line relocation project we discussed earlier. The new line was built just west of the old one. The old line first ran through tunnel number 15, Robinson Tunnel, then followed a tributary before crossing the New River on an old single-track steel trestle bridge with a 25 mile per hour restriction on it. Then the line went through the former tunnels of 13 and 14 before getting back to the railroad line in Helenwood, Tennessee. Although the old line is now abandoned, one of the trusses for the old steel trestle bridge still remains and can be seen off of Highway 27. Now leave New River, Tennessee, and go on to Harriman, Tennessee, out on the 3rd District. Harriman is where the 3rd District meets the Knoxville District / Oakdale line. Harriman is also a hotspot, averaging 40 to 50 trains per day. We're actually going down to Emery Gap, Tennessee to see trains, which is really close to Harriman. Sitting on the sidings near the Emery Gap depots sits a grain train led by 2 CN locomotives and 1 CSX locomotive. We are at the intersection of Old Valley Road and Maurice Street. Then a southbound grain train rolls on by, being led by NS 8691, 9795, and 7677. NS 8691 is a GE C40-8 built in 1990. NS 9795 is a GE C40-9W. NS 7677 is a GE ES40DC built in 2007. I wasn't able to find very much information on the stations here. What I could find was that the Tennessee Central and Southern stations are still here, and that blue building next to the tracks is the NS Depot for Emery Gap, Tennessee. I don't know what the building opposite of the blue depot is, or if the blue depot is a former TC station or Southern Railway station. As I said, I wasn't able to find very much information about these two buildings. Then, a short southbound intermodal train came by, being led by NS 8030 and 8391. NS-8030 is a GE ES-44AC built in 2010, and NS-8391 is a GE C-40-8W built in 1993 as Conrail 6182.
Short one.
Soon we decided to leave Emory Gap, Tennessee. As we were leaving, we saw this trio of diesels, one of them a former BNSF locomotive. We decided we wanted to go north to Oakdale, Tennessee, where the 2nd and 3rd districts meet. The roads to Oakdale are very sharp and twisty, and can be very steep. Oakdale is one of those small towns located in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains. We then found ourselves on the Peach Orchard Road Bridge crossing the Emory River, where we caught this northbound ethanol train, being led by NS 6954.
He's in it now.
Pull over.
NS 6954 is a rebuilt EMD SD60E, built in 1985 as NS 6579. I didn't get the number of the other locomotive helping out here, but I think is an SD90 Mac. We then proceeded to chase this train up Camp Austin Road. Camp Austin Road follows the tracks for a short while. After chasing the train, we then decided to turn around and go back south, entering onto the 3rd district. The 3rd district runs from Oakdale, Tennessee to Chattanooga, Tennessee. We then passed Harriman and Emory Gap, Tennessee. As we did, we passed the former Tennessee Central Railway Bridge that's right next to Highway 27. Highway 27/29 follows the Rat Hole line from Harriman, Tennessee to just north of Chattanooga, Tennessee, making it a good place to pace trains along the line, such as the southbound Autorack train. While going down south, we caught this northbound coal train. From our point of view, it looked like the rear-end pushers were the front locomotives, and it appeared to us that they were pushing their train backwards up the line. After following the tracks for a while, we then arrived in Spring City, Tennessee. Spring City is home to this old Southern Railway station next to the tracks, and it's also home to this former Southern Railway bay window caboose, also next to the tracks. We decided to pull over and see the station. The station was built in 1908 by the Southern Railway. The station saw many passenger trains run through here, such as the Royal Palm, the Queen and Crescent Limited, and the Pont de Leon, until passenger service was stopped in the 1950s. Today, the station is now the Spring City Museum. The museum was closed on the day we got here. They're open from Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. They're also located just down West Raleigh Avenue, not too far away from the station building. The station makes a good place to watch trains run up and down the line, such as this northbound freight train being led by NS 9049, 9034, and 3362. NS 9049 and 9334 are both GE C40-9Ws. 9043 was built in 1997, and NS 3362 is a EMD SD40-2 built in 1977 as Conrail 6416. After the train left Spring City, we then got back on the road. We then caught this southbound freight train. We then arrived at our final destination of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Chattanooga, Tennessee is the southern terminus of the Rat Hole line and is where the Cincinnati Southern Railroad line terminates at. Chattanooga has a population of 176,588 people and is the fourth largest city in the state. We soon arrived at our hotel. After getting accommodated, we then went out on the town. We then went down to the riverfront to see a queen. This is the Delta Queen riverboat. At the time of our visit, the Queen was a floating hotel for the Delta Queen Hotel. To talk about the Queen even further, my brother here from Jacob Western 11 will now be talking about her. And here he is.
Thanks, John. Alright, the Delta Queen is a two-of-a-kind stern wheeler. She was laid down in Scotland, then after launch was shipped to California for fitting out and service. She, along with her brother, in this case the Delta King, operated there, till World War II. During the war, they were used as barges to transport, various war materials. After the war, the Delta Queen was bought by the Green Lines Company. Then she was boarded up and sent through the Panama Canal, and she went to Ohio. Then, for a long 62 years, she operated along the Ohio River until Congress decided to stop renewing her pass. You're probably wondering, what is this pass? The pass is a pass for the safety at sea law. See, this law prevents any wooden boat from hauling over 50 overnight passengers. Queen can hold 500 passengers. See the problem? So the government resolved this predicament when they gave the Delta Queen a pass. Until 2008, when they stopped renewing it. But there is hope. See, the Delta Queen was bought by another company in hopes of getting her back in service, so they moved her down to Harriman, Louisiana. Right now, as of the video, the bill to bring her back has got to Congress, so please contact your local senator to help bring her back. Also, the Delta Queen has a Facebook page, and yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you, Jacob. And as Jacob said, please contact your local senator about the Delta Queen and see their Facebook page. It will be really nice to see this stern-wheeler back in action again, running up and down the Mississippi and Ohio rivers.
Start recording. Dad.
As we look on to the Tennessee River, we see the Southern Belle as it does a nightly run on the river. And with that, we come to the end of our video. The Rat Hole line is one of the most interesting railroad lines within the United States. Its rich history, majestic scenery, and its trains certainly make it a must-see for anyone who likes trains. Although some of the places we visited, like the Burnside cliffs, are a bit tricky to get to and are a bit dangerous, there are side roads, railroad crossings, and on occasion, public areas such as the Stearns Station in Stearns, Kentucky, and the Spring City Depot area in Spring City, Tennessee, where you can see trains in a safe manner. And if you do decide to go to some of these dangerous places, such as the Burnside Cliffs, just play it safe and don't run. Other than that, you will have a great time seeing trains traverse this important railroad line. Also, make sure to also visit the Big South Fork Scenic Railroad, Spring City Museum, the Delta Queen, when and if it's back up and running again, and the other places we visited. Although we didn't get to ride or go inside some of these places, they are interesting in their own right and deserve their own trips. Well, I hope you enjoyed this Rails to the South adventure. In the next volume, we'll continue our trip in the South by chasing Southern 8099 on an excursion train from Chattanooga, Tennessee to Attalla, Alabama, and back. I hope you have a good day, and see you later. The Southern States. These states provide many of the United States' greatest railroading gems. In this video, we rail-fan the Rat Hole line from Cincinnati, Ohio to Chattanooga, Tennessee. We then chase Southern 8099 as it pulls an excursion train from Chattanooga, Tennessee to Tala, Alabama, and back. We also catch other trains along the line. Then we finish the trip by going to Frisco, Virginia/Tennessee to see some more trains. So now, let's get going and chase some trains down in the south.